everybody, the Book Dad here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the books that made me who I am, Volume 2. When we last left off, we had journeyed through my book history and arrived all the way to the futuristic year 2000. Well, I guess it's not that futuristic anymore, huh? Well, today we're going to continue on from there all the way up to present day, talking about those books that are fundamental to making me into the book dad you see today. There's a lot of really good books in there, and I hope you enjoy hearing me talk about them. To all of you that are new subscribers to the channel, welcome. I appreciate you here, and all of you returning subscribers, welcome back. We're having a lot of fun here talking about all of the books that I've loved throughout my life, and I hope that you like it too. Please continue watching, liking, subscribing, and here we go into Volume 2. The next phase that we're going into, we're moving into the 2000s now. And this is a period when I was in the Army. I was a soldier, and I started to like these books that were more based in the real world, that used soldiers and the CIA, terrorism, and all of that kind of stuff. What I'm talking about is a series that was written by a man named Vince Flynn, and the book that I'm sharing is Transfer of Power. Now, this book series is about a protagonist named Mitch Rapp, who is the uber CIA assassin, spy, does it all. And he's fighting terrorism. He can speak Arabic. He knows all of the secrets and is just running around killing the bad guys. It's a very macho, masculine series, and I was eating it up in my 20s and early 30s. So this was an interesting series also for me because at the time, my dad was also getting really into these books. And so Vince Flynn was one of these serial writers where he basically would write a book every single year. The new Mitch Rapp would come out every year, usually I think around like October. And so it would come out and I'd be marking it on my calendar, time to get the new Mitch Rapp book. And my dad was the same. And so we'd both get it, we'd read it, and then I could call him and talk to him about it and be like, oh man, can you believe what Mitch Rapp just did? Like, it was awesome. And so I have a lot of good memories of that. Unfortunately, my dad is no longer with us, but it's a really special and precious memory that I have, that something I was able to share with him. And in the same genre, there's also Tom Clancy, of course, famous Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, as well as Alex Berenson is another one that I liked. But this whole series of CIA spy thrillers, really fun, really quick reads. And Vince Flynn, too, unfortunately passed away, but his series has continued with other authors. I haven't moved on to the new authors that have continued his series, but that's something that I'm interested in the future. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Now, the next book that I'd like to share is something that these days, unfortunately, might be a little bit controversial, but it's still important to me, and so I have to talk about it. And it's something that I still would recommend regardless of any of the other things that might be going on surrounding this author. But that is Neil Gaiman and the book Neverwinter. Now, Neil Gaiman is an amazing writer. Other things, I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff going on right now. But Neverwinter was the first book by Neil Gaiman that I ever read, and it blew me away. Now, the thing that's important about this book in my reading history is that this was introduced to me by Bookwife. When we got married, she introduced me to Neil Gaiman, somebody I never heard of before. Of course, at the time, I was super into fantasy, but this was a different kind of fantasy. It was almost more of like a fairy tale fantasy. And of course, Neverwinter has a lot of modern elements in it as well. It's a story of a man who finds a way into the London Underground and discovers a whole new world down there. And so to me, this was something revolutionary. I had never read any fantasy like that before, and it really opened my mind to what's possible with fantasy. It's not just the Shannara's and the Dragonlances and things of my youth, but there's whole new different ways of interpreting fantasy in these days. So this was special to me because, of course, my wife introduced me to something new that I loved. So I always give thanks to her. And I've continued to like what he's written. Unfortunately, these days that's a little bit controversial because of the stuff that he allegedly be involved in. But either way, that was something that I always treasure because of the connection that it brought me with Bookwife. Now, moving on to my next book that I want to share with you in my book history is a very popular book. I'm sure all of you on BookTube know who this is and have heard of this and have probably read it, I'm guessing, at this point. But this is Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, you knew we had to get here, right? You've seen my banner, like you've seen my Sander shelf up there. So yeah, of course, we got to give it to the king, Brandon Sanderson. So Misborn was the first of his that I had ever read. Now, I have a little bit of an interesting history with Branderson. The first time that I read this, I loved it. But for some reason, again, I didn't move on to the next books in the series. I didn't move on to the Well of Ascension. I just ended it with Misborn and went a couple of years and then was kind of in that limbo that I'm sure many of you that watch BookTube and that read are aware of. That limbo where I've read the first book of a series and I waited too long to continue it. And now I can't remember the characters and what they were doing in the first book. So I feel like I got to go back, read the first book, and then move on to the second book. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to continue on. So that was the conundrum. So I had left it for a couple of years. I read this for the first time probably somewhere around 2013 or so. Now, in 2021, I decided to try Branderson again, except I started by reading one of his YA series, The Reckoners. So we're talking about Steelheart, Firefight, and Calamity. Now, those books were really fun and really awesome. I thought that they were really unique, and I liked the style that Brandon writes in. And so after I read those, that kind of like jump-started me into wanting to get back into the rest of the Cosmere. I mean, obviously, The Reckoners isn't Cosmere, it's its own thing. But I wanted to get into the Cosmere. So I went back, reread Misborn in 2023, and from there on, read all through the Cosmere. Now, I still haven't finished my Cosmere journey yet, but I'm well on my way. I finished the Misborn series. I'm read most of Era 2. I still have the Lost Metal to read. And I've gotten into the Stormlight Archive and some of the other and standalone books in the Cosmere as well. And I can't get enough of it. Like I said, I haven't read a single dud yet by Branderson. He's the best. It's surprising that it's only been 2 years since I started the Cosmere, essentially. But I've really burned my way through it, and I'm almost through with most of the books there. And the Cosmere is where I want to be these days. Like, it's my favorite fantasy series, that interconnectedness that exists in the Cosmere. I love it. Like, finding out this character went to this planet and this guy is associated with this thing over here. And it's all interconnected, and it's a whole lot of fun. So, anyways, Misborn, Branderson, always the best. We're getting close to the end of this journey. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. There's only a few books left. We're almost up to the present day. All right. The next book I want to talk about is an interesting addition to my reading journey, because throughout all of this time that we've been talking about, most of the things have been fantasy. There have been thrillers. There have been, the techno thrillers, Harry Potter's. But throughout all of that, I had never read a Western. Now, I do like Western movies, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Man with No Name trilogy, things like that. But I never read a Western book. I didn't really think it was something that I'd be interested in. But boy, was I wrong. The most amazing book possibly that I have ever read, Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove. Now, I know that this has been pretty popular on BookTube lately, but there is a reason why. This is a masterpiece. This thing took me by surprise in so many ways. I basically picked it up because, you know, obviously I'd heard about it. It's a famous book and it had a famous TV series made about it. I never saw that. So when I read this, I didn't know anything about the story. I didn't know where it was going, what it was even going to be about. I had heard of all of the hype, and so I was interested, and I picked it up. And I see on the front, oh, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Okay, well, it must be good, I guess. But like I said, I never read westerns before, but this thing blew me out of the water. It is so good. I mean, heartbreaking, funny, exhilarating, sad. It has all of the emotions. It is basically a story that Larry McMurtry was able to encapsulate the entire human condition within this tale of two cowboys that are driving cattle from Texas up to Montana. Seems like a very simple thing to hang your story on, but within that, there are so many moments of just absolute beauty. And the thing too about this book is so well crafted. There are a ton of characters, but the characterizations are very specific. So you always know who's talking and what they're doing. And the characters, they're in different spots all throughout this book, right? It's spread across many miles and many states. And the thing that Larry McMurtry does is he brings these characters into connection with each other at just the right moments. They're like weaving in and out of each other's stories at just the most amazing moments. It's so well plotted and so well crafted. It's no wonder that it won the Pulitzer, because Lonesome Dove is the best. So that is one of the most recent books that I've read, and for sure has a well-earned spot in my reading history. We've come to the end of this journey. You've been with me through thick and thin. We've gone through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. We're in the 2020s now. We're in the modern day. One last thing to add to this list. And this might be the most surprising of all, because I have never seen myself as a reader of horror. I know, right? I don't like scary movies because I don't think they're scary. They just don't speak to me. I don't think they're that good. So when it comes to reading, I always figured, why would I read horror? What am I talking about? Well, the Stephen King universe. Now, I read The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King when I was a teenager, but that was a fantasy book, right? And it's also for young adult. It's not one of his normal adult books, and it doesn't have the same kind of content that some of his adult books do. I read it as a teenager and I loved it. I thought it was great. That's the only thing I ever read by him, because it was a fantasy book, and I just never thought I would be interested in any of his other works. Well, I guess I was wrong, because last year around Halloween, for whatever reason, I guess I just had a strange itch to scratch, and I thought, well, what the heck? It's Halloween, it's October. Let's read a Stephen King book. So I did, and it was good. And I decided to read another one, and then another one, and another one. And since then, I've read 11 of Stephen King's books in the last less than a year. And so, yeah, hey, who knew? Who knew that Stephen King was such a good writer? Well, I guess everybody did, because he's like the best-selling author of practically all time. But hey, I guess I'm late to the party, but hey, I'm glad to be here because now I'm hooked. And what is it about Stephen King that I like? I don't know. His characterizations are so specific, and his writing of the way that humans interact with each other is so nuanced and like so perfect, and the way that real life works. And yeah, they're involved in these crazy situations, scary, weird things, but you never know what's going to happen, and you never know how they're going to react, but it just catches you in, and it's so compelling. Now, in the Stephen King universe, of course, it's a little bit interconnected too, almost like the Cosmere, although not quite as much as that. But one of his main series, of course, is The Dark Tower. And I have started my Dark Tower journey. I started it earlier this year with The Gunslinger, then continued with the Drawing of the Three, and now I am on to The Wastelands. As you can see, my bookmark is right there. So I'm about 200 pages in. And, I'm hooked. Now, this is an interesting fantasy series. Stephen King fantasy is not the same as other fantasy. He has a lot of modern elements to it, a lot of weird and interesting takes that you would never expect to find in a fantasy book. So far, I'm loving it. I can't get enough of it. I'm going to keep going through the Dark Tower. And so as I finish these books, I think I'm probably going to use these as fodder for reviews. And I'll probably post some specific reviews for each book as we move on through my booktube videos. But yeah, Stephen King, that's who I'm into now. And so I hope that you all have enjoyed this story that I've told about the foundational books that have shaped me and turned me into who I am today. The book dad you see before you is a result of all of these books and, of course, many more. But I appreciate you being on this journey with me. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you do, please like, subscribe, keep watching the videos, and we'll see where this goes. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope you are too. So I'll see you next time. Until then, don't forget to read to your kids every night. All right, see ya.